Hey guys, what's up? It's Blay. Today I wanted to share my home birth experience with you all. I know it's been a minute since I've posted, and this is something that I really wanted to kind of share with the world because it's something that's really helpful for me. It was a resource, it was beneficial hearing other people's home birth stories. Last time that I posted an actual video, I think it was like literally right after I found out that I was pregnant. So we found out I was pregnant in June of 2022 and we were so excited. Your perspective kind of changes a little bit on everything. But growing up, just a little background, growing up I always wanted to be a midwife. I thought that that was so cool. I thought that would be really fun. I obviously always wanted to be in the home birth realm just because something that was comfortable for me or seemed comfortable for me. Later in my life, becoming a midwife felt a little overwhelming. Kind of did a little bit of research and decided I wanted to be a doula. And I had signed up for a doula course a year before I got pregnant, and I ended up getting pregnant, and I was just like, you know what, like I feel kind of like I need to experience this feeling of giving birth and kind of what all that entails before I try to help other women give birth. So I kind of put that on hold for a while, and I'm still planning on doing that too. And after my birth experience, which was wonderful, I would love to be a midwife one day still. It's a lot of work, but I think that it is something that is a passion of mine. And especially now, having gone through the birth experience and the way it made me feel and just how amazing it was and bringing life into the world, that I think that it's something that I would, love to do to help other women that are in need. All that backstory, let's get into my home birth. So finding out that we were pregnant in June of 2022, me and my husband hadn't really discussed anything. Kind of in the back of my mind, I always thought that I would have a home birth. I was just kind of like, that's just what I'm gonna do because it sounds awesome, sounds, comfortable, at my home, like in my comfort zone. So I always just kind of thought that that's what I was gonna do. But getting pregnant, I called my sister-in-law, and I was like, so like, what's the first step? Like, I don't really know what to do. And they both were like, call an OB, get in, kind of like do like an initial ultrasound and, go from there. So I didn't have a regular OB at the time. So I called around to several different places, and a lot of them weren't taking new clients. And I wasn't really sure. It took me a while to figure out what we wanted to do. But I ended up calling a OB close to where we lived at the time, and was just like, okay, let's just do the initial ultrasound and kind of like see where we go from there. Like, I'll feel better, confirmed, just making sure everything's okay, kind of get a little bit of guidance from them. So I ended up making an appointment at an OB close to me. We ended up going. I was exactly 8 weeks pregnant when we went. It was all kind of during the height of COVID and masks and everything, and so it just already felt uncomfortable being in there to me. We got there, we did the ultrasound. It took us like an hour to actually talk to the OB, and she was in and out in like literally 4 minutes. I think she came in there and did, a regular routine like invasive vaginal exam, and I was super uncomfortable. It felt really rushed. It felt super weird. I didn't like it at all. So we ended up going home, and we got our little ultrasound pictures, so that was cool. We were just still really excited, kind of in all the excitement. And then we made an appointment for the next one, which was at 12 weeks. And so we kind of like discussed a few things in between them, but not really. We just kind of were like, let's just go to this next one. Let's get the blood work done. Let's kind of see where we're at, kind of thing. We ended up going to the 12-week appointment, and it was literally 5 minutes, and my blood pressure was through the roof because I was antsy and anxious, and just like everything about it just like made my skin crawl. As bad as that sounds, like I just don't like hospitals. I don't like doctors. It's just, I don't even know. I don't know why. But my blood pressure was through the roof. They were really concerned about that. They had a lot to say about my weight, which really, just putting this out there, that really irked me because I've always been an extremely healthy person. I, weigh more than the average person. And basically they were like, we're going to test you early for gestational diabetes because of your weight. And, I had done a little bit of research, but after that fact, I went home and did some more research and realized that gestational diabetes has nothing to do with your weight. It has to do with your placenta and the way that it forms. So after that appointment, I just went home and was just like so upset. I was just like, this doesn't feel right. I don't want to do this. So I talked to my husband and I was like, how would you feel about me looking into getting a midwife and having a home birth? And it took him a minute just because, it's not something that he was really familiar with or really had any experience with. So we talked about it a little bit more, and I ended up finding a midwife that had availability for my due date in February of 2023, which was hard at 12 weeks to kind of find somebody close enough to us. We lived in a more rural city at the time, so finding someone was a little bit more difficult for us, but I ended up finding someone just by looking online, Google searching. I didn't have a lot of resources that I do now, and she did a video call with us, and my husband said, let's do this video call with her, let's just see kind of how she is, and then I'll kind of see where I'm at. So we did this video call with her, and it was amazing. She answered every single question that he had. It was 40 minutes long, just the initial interview, without us deciding anything, if we were going to use each other or use her as our midwife. And so after that call, we hung up, and my husband was like, that felt great, let's do it. And so we messaged her and we were like, yes, we'd love for you to be our midwife. What should we do now? And of course she sent us a few resources for starting to eat a little healthier, a lot of protein, taking different vitamins and everything. And then we went to see her at my 16-week appointment. And I walked into that appointment in her office, and my blood pressure was perfect. I was calm. Everything felt so personable, and I felt so taken care of and so cared for during that appointment that we walked out of there and I was like, this is it. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. Yeah, it was just great. We went throughout our pregnancy. Everything was wonderful. We did our monthly and then bi-weekly and then weekly appointments with our midwife, kind of planning everything out. And then in January, we moved cities, which was closer to my midwife, which was nice, but the moving during pregnancy was wild. I definitely don't recommend it, but we did it, and we moved in about 3 weeks before my due date and started getting everything settled. At 30, I believe it was right around 37 weeks, right after we moved, I was still working, and I, being a massage therapist, was on my feet a lot during the day. And one night, my ankles had really swollen really bad, and I called my midwife. I sent her a picture. We took my blood pressure, which was of course high because then I was nervous. But we wanted to kind of stay on top of everything, so I ended up doing weekly testing for the protein in my urine to make sure that didn't go up too high, and just checking my blood pressure twice a day to make sure we were all good, which most of the time it was great. Sometimes it was a little bit high, but I did end up quitting work at 38 weeks just because I needed to get off my feet, and with the move and everything, it was just a little bit too much for me pregnancy wise. So at 38 weeks I quit work which was fine because I had time to kind of organize the house a little bit better, and unpack everything, all while trying to stay off my feet a little bit and doing the extra testing and everything. So that leads us to 39 weeks, 6 days. We were chilling. We're like, tomorrow's my due date, but, first time mom, I'm probably not going to go into labor or anything, just see what happens. And my midwife called me, and she had gotten my test results from my most recent 24-hour urine test, which showed the proteins in my urine had spiked. So to be cautious, she wanted to send us to the hospital the next morning, just to run a few more extra tests to make sure that I wasn't, that it wasn't preeclampsia, which we knew was a possibility. And it just kind of, it's a possibility, but it happens. And she said, since tomorrow's your due date, you're 40 weeks, and the way that I'm looking at your levels and everything, they are probably going to want to induce you, which, I mean, that kind of crushed me. Like, I thought that I was a little more open-minded than that, but, yeah, it kind of crushed me. I had a really good cry. Me and my husband, we ended up staying up until about midnight that night, kind of like talking about everything, crying about everything, packing, because I feel like we had to kind of really, I thought that we had talked about like the possibility of going to the hospital, but it kind of just shook us a little bit. I don't think we were really prepared for that, which is fine. It's a thing, it's, you think that you're prepared enough for a lot of things in life, and then they kind of shake you a little bit. But, yeah, so we went to bed that night. We had a really good talk. We were like, this is it. Like, we're probably going to have a baby tomorrow. Like, that's so crazy. Like, I can't believe it. Like, it's all coming together. We lined up people to watch my ducks and people to watch our cats, and had everything in place. Went to bed 12 p.m. And I woke up 30 minutes later to my water breaking. Laying in bed, like basically had already gone to sleep, and woke up and it loudest pop, like warm, hot almost water just like breaking all over the bed, all over my pillow, all over my pants. And I rolled over to my husband and I was like, babe, my water just broke. And he said, okay. And he rolled back over and went to sleep. So then I really got him up and I was like, my water just broke. Like, I'm not kidding, I'm serious. And he shot up. So I texted the student midwife and I said, hey, my water just broke. And she messaged me back quickly and she said, sweet. She said, just let me know if contractions start, and we'll go from there. So about 20 minutes later, I had my first contraction, and I hadn't had any like practice contractions before that. I had like some crampy like period like feelings in Braxton Hicks, which was just a tightening, but it wasn't painful. So I had my first contraction, and I told my husband, I was like, I just had a contraction, so I'm just gonna time him for a little while. But I texted my midwife. I said, I just had my first contraction. And she's like, okay, cool, try to get some sleep. So of course I could not sleep. The adrenaline kicked in, and I just, I was timing my contractions. I was practicing my breath because I knew it was going to get, a little bit crazy after that. But finally around, I think it was like 3 or 4 a.m. and I just was like, I can't sleep. So I got up and I took a shower because, I thought, I'm going to get ready. I'm going to look cute, having a baby. That's what people do, right? So anyway, very delusional at that point, that early labor stage. And I ended up getting back in bed, and I finally fell asleep, between contractions a little bit. But they definitely were starting to ramp up, and they started out about 2 or 3 minutes apart. They were already really close. So I just kind of kept in contact with my midwife, made sure like things were, we were communicating and she knew what was going on. So probably around 6 a.m. I felt my contractions were like 1.5 to 2 minutes apart at this point. And it was 6 a.m. And of course, I didn't know what contractions felt like. So to me, they were pretty painful. And I called my midwife and I just said, hey, my contractions have been 2 minutes apart for over an hour. And I feel like they're at like a 7 out of 10, which looking back that was pretty high. They definitely were not a 7. They were probably more like a 3 looking back. But I didn't know, so I'll know for next time, which is good. But she said, okay, I'll call Brenda and we'll kind of head that way and check you. They arrived around 7 a.m., 7:30, I think, and came in and checked me, and I was 2.5 centimeters. So that was a little disappointing, but I was like, okay, cool. Like, we're in it for the long haul. Let's do it. At that point I still had, adrenaline and like the excitement. I was like, hey, let's do it. So around 8:30, they were there for about an hour just to kind of monitor things and see how things were going. They took my blood pressure. Everything was fine. So they said as long as my blood pressure was staying good, then they would let me get to continue to labor at home. I was GBS positive, so they gave me a timeline since my water had broken. Just kind of like making sure there were less cervical checks, less invasive things, making sure that we knew the time frame from when my water broke, since it did break first, for safety reasons. And my midwife had all the things that I needed in that case if I needed them. But anyway, around 8:30, my midwife's got a call that their other mom was in labor. And this other mom lived like an hour and 15 minutes away from me or something like that. And it was her second baby. And so they were expecting her to have a faster labor this time around. So they ended up leaving me, which was a little bit scary, but it's just kind of like you're in labor land. You're just kind of like, this is what's happening. It's happening. And she seemed to have been further along than me when they talked to her, so they headed that way. They left around 8:30, and ended up the other mom had her baby around 12:30. My midwife texted me. She said, how are you doing? I told her my contractions were still 2 or 3 minutes apart. They were the entire time, and they were definitely getting stronger. They were getting much stronger than they were before. But I was just dealing, and I ended up trying a few different positions, but the most comfortable to me was bouncing on my yoga ball in the kitchen and then standing up for contractions and leaning over the counter. That just felt the most comfortable for me. Everything else was like horrid. I ended up taking a shower, but we have like a little bar in our shower, so I was able to lean over that the same way, and that was amazing. I think I took 2 showers actually. So like, I took the shower at like 4 a.m. getting ready for the day, and then I ended up taking 2 more showers after that. And at some point I was like, I don't really care what I look like, because this hurts. I just want to have this baby and be done. So I just continued laboring throughout the afternoon, and my midwife texted me. She said, if you feel like I need to, I can call the other midwife, my other backup midwife, to come to you. And I never felt that way. I was always just kind of like, no, like, I think I'm good. Like, if you guys already, the other mom gave birth, you guys are cleaning up and are heading back this way, like, I think we're good. So instinctually I was just like, no, like, we're good. We're just gonna wait on you. So they got back around 3:30 or something like that. Checked me. I think I was 5 centimeters, which again, like, I had been laboring again for like another 8 hours, and so that was still disappointing. I was like, cool, 2.5 more centimeters in 8 hours, like, this is gonna be a long labor. And they were like, why don't you just like try to walk around, just like walk around the house as much as you can. Like, it's in February, like, it's February 8th, my due date, like, it's cold outside, so we're just walking around inside doing what we can, taking contractions on. Wherever I was, it started to get like incredibly intense. My contractions were about 1.5 minutes long, coming every 1.5 minutes. And I remember being in the kitchen at one point, and I was having a contraction. One of my midwives had gone to get dinner for themselves because they were starving, because they had just been like working all day. I remember she walked in the door right after I had like 3 contractions back to back to back. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and she said, what's up? And I said, I think I just felt the need to push. And she was like, oh boy. So they scarfed down their, dinner real quick and went and checked me, and I was 9.5 centimeters or something like that. And this was at 5 p.m. So this is like an hour and a half after they got back. I went from 5 to 9. Just walking around, and I think I kind of felt like I was ready because they were back. Not necessarily that I meant to, but I think that I kind of was holding back a little bit because I knew that they weren't there yet. I was sitting in my bed, and they were finishing getting the pool ready. So we had the pool set out. My husband had put it up that morning, but we hadn't filled it yet. And so at some point, like when the midwives got back, they were like, go ahead and fill up the tub. Like, we'll go ahead and just kind of like have it filled and ready. And it was too cold So they ended up like from 5 when they checked me at 9.5 centimeters, they started filling it up with hot water so that it would be the correct temperature. And because we had filled it up too much, we had to like take some out and then like put more hot water in, and it was kind of like a whirlwind because I don't really remember anything, but I remember sitting on my bed having, I think I had, because after that transition contraction, my contractions had spaced out to like 5 to 8 minutes apart, which looking back, I should have been pushing. But every contraction that I had at that point, I was getting incredibly nauseous and I was trying with all my might not to push. It was insane. Like, I knew that I needed to push and I didn't say anything, and I was kind of like, okay, get the pool ready, because I really wanted to have the water birth, you know. And so I'm sitting there on my bed having these contractions that are just like insane, you know. I don't like sitting, so they're like more painful when I'm sitting. I'm not standing up, and I'm trying not to push, and I'm about to throw up. Like, it's just insanity. But I knew it was close to the end, and I was just like, it's so close, like one less contraction. And my midwife called from the living room, and she was like, you can come get in the tub. And I had just finished a contraction, and I ran to that tub, and I got in the tub, and right when I got in, I started having another contraction. And I thought that I would want to push on my hands and knees. Like, I just thought that that was the most natural position. So I got on my hands and knees and immediately was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I flipped over onto my, not onto my back, but I flipped into like a sitting, like kind of reclined sitting position. And I just started pushing. And, you know, fetal ejection reflex, FER, is real because I could not have done anything. Like, that baby was coming. Like, I was sitting in the tub, and every contraction that I was having, they were like, push, and I was just so scared. I was terrified. I ended up pushing for about 45 minutes, I think she said. So from 5:30 to 6:12. I had her at 6:12. Just like looking back, it was so wild. And I remember saying, like, I can't do it. She's not gonna fit. Like, this is crazy. And yeah, so the midwife was like, you know, once you get her head out, it's gonna be a little bit of a relief and you'll have a little break. And that did not feel like that at all. I reached down and I felt her, and I pushed one more time, and the midwife said, her head's out. And I thought we were supposed to have relief at that point, so it was not relief. It felt like insane pressure, insane pain, and so I just kept pushing because I was just like, I'm ready for this to be done. I'm ready for her to be out. So right instantly when her head was born, the midwife said, her head's out, and I just went, yeah, and I pushed with all my might, and her rest of her body flew out, and my midwife handed her up to me, and she immediately started crying when she came out of the water. And it was just like the biggest relief, the biggest just like, oh my God, I did it moment. And here she is, like, she's real. That was like so surreal. Like, I knew she was there, but seeing her was just, it was like so precious. It was the best moment. My husband snapped a few pictures. We just chilled out in the pool, just looking at her and taking it all in. My husband cut the cord. And then I had to push the placenta out, which I did not want to do. I was so nervous. I thought it was going to hurt, but it did not. It was fine. Everything was fine. We ended up burying it underneath a lemon tree, like a potted lemon tree that I have, which was really cool, you know, with like my whole background of gardening on this channel. That was super fun. It's still, you know, it's outside, and we'll always take that with us wherever we go. So yeah, we got out of the pool, got cleaned up, got settled in, our families came, and it was beautiful. And, you know, looking back, I know right after she was born, I remember saying, I'm never doing this again. Like, that was crazy. But I'm definitely doing it again one day. It was so empowering and the best thing I've ever done. It was absolutely beautiful. And I just, you know, I wanted to put my birth story on here for people that are in the same boat as me, that, you know that what they're doing is not what they're supposed to be doing, you know, going to the OB or like feeling disrespected or feeling, you know, anxious or whatnot, and, you know, want something different for themselves and for their birth and for their story. And so, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below. I ended up having Nora I was in labor for 18 hours, which was crazy. Never thought that I would be in labor that long, but we were, and everything was beautiful and everything worked out, and she's here. Obviously, she's already 9 months old now. So it's been a minute. It's been kind of, you know, adjusting to being a mom, and having a baby has been amazing, and, you know, a little scary and a little happy, a little, you know, a little bit of everything. You know, it's just kind of just one of the biggest things, you know, biggest changes that you can go through. And I mean, it's just been awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.